Hey, what's up guys? It's another TMD video. Good morning. Ohio gozaimasu from Japan. This is TMD live. Good topic today, talking about Yakuza. So just going back to my comments. Big shout going out to TY. Deaths, if you're still watching, I will be getting that video knocked out this week. And Creature from the UK. Creature wants to know a little bit more about the Yakuza cult, mafia crew. Icebox wants to talk about corruption within the police. And a few other guys were talking about video games. I'll make that in another video. But today I'm going to talk about my my experience with Yakuza and what all the Yakuzas are about. Basically, in Japan, I've met a few Yakuzas, actually. Mainly, there's one guy he's retired. I mean, I can tell, do you know why? Because he's got 2 of his fingers cut off. And that's a good telltale sign that they're ex-Yakuzas. People have probably this weird image about Yakuzas being unfriendly or a little bit dangerous. Well, that's kind of true, but most of the Yakuzas who I know of, the one that lives in my town, he actually has a little sausage dog. I've known him for like 12 years. He noticed me because I drink at the station, and nice guy, really nice guy. He's got his little sausage dog. He's got that very like Yakuza looking face to him, but apart from that, he's always polite. He always says hello to me. I have a little bit of a chat, and he kind of laughs at me because I'm always drinking Chuai and stuff like that. I've met some other yakas that again, retired guys that you'll see around certain stations. It's kind of weird because depending on who they are and how they are formed within the network, some got out, and of course, as you well know, you get your fucking fingers chopped off for that shit. I've met lower ranked Yakuzas. I've drank with some. Some of these people know me in this town. Now what it is, I mean, you guys can Google it. I mean, just Wikipedia Yakuza, and you can work out like how it all works. Like, coming down from history, these guys were like people that ran shit basically. And what's happened is, like, because of the history and stuff like that, they dominated most small areas, small towns, and like I said, most of the businesses that you see in Japan near a station are probably Yakuza owned. A lot of them went legit. I mean, you know, they were actually glamorized in the 80s because they had like magazines on these guys, like, oh, I like the Italian mafia. There's some big people in there, like El Chapo and all those guys. They were like people that were intrigued. They had mystery. They were edgy. And yeah, they were like fucking movie stars. Like, seriously, they were like movie stars. And it's kind of interesting because now it kind of feels that the way that they do business now, it's like, it's not fucking cool anymore. Because how it works is it's based on like hierarchy and ranks. there are different families doing different kinds of business, whether it be prostitution, drugs, laundering, tax evasion, oh, there's just a number of things, land control. And I think in the last 10 years or so, I think they've become disheveled almost. But after today, I did some research because you know, I wanted to do some nice shots behind the shrine today and talk about this. But I found some research today that's kind of interesting. Now, as you know, I'll tell you some good positive things, right? When the big tsunami had hit Japan in 2011, all the Yakuza families in Japan actually contributed a lot of money for the rescue service. They helped with supplies, food, accommodation. And it's kind of weird because I feel like sometimes that the Yakuzas have a lot of power, a lot of say in what happens and what goes on in these areas of Japan. Even more so to the fact that they have more powers than the police. But I know just recently that a lot of these guys are getting locked up. A lot of them. The police are getting onto them a little bit more. I know in like the areas of Adachiku, I've seen news reports of like rival gangs having fights. And the fight that I saw was a little bit pathetic. It's not like in New York where people are running around with fucking shooters and they're openly like shooting people out in the open, so to speak. But there are shootings. Just recently in the news, in the Tokyo Reporter, there's been a few cases of like some murders going down and a few assassinations and whatnot. But on top of that, there are also cases where the lower ranked guys are doing some real stupid shit, like the bottom of the criminality level kind of shit, right? You know, when we're talking about mafia guys and stuff like that, we're talking about big shit, you know, drugs, laundering, all that big stuff. But these lower rank guys are just doing like stupid crimes like robbery, armed robbery, prostitutions, drugs. Now, I'll tell you one experience of, it was a really mad situation. So I met this salaryman in my area, and he went by the name of Sam. I know that wasn't his real name, but this guy was all suited up, and he was like, "Oh, where you from?" and all this shit. And we got chatting, and he's like, "What you doing now?" And I said, "Nothing." Now, where I used to hang out or live at was very close to the station, so he offered me for a drink. I said, "Yeah, why not?" To look at him, I was like, "Oh, just a regular salary man." Actually, prior to that, I actually saw him on the train a few times, so I think he must have kind of recognized my face, and he took me. So near the post office in the main city area, there used to be like a car park, and this car park had like a small restaurant. It's weird, and it was covered in like a kind of like plastic sheeting, but like the main frame of the structure was like metal poling. And I noticed this place a few times, never thought anything of it. And then this guy took me there. There was an old lady, a mama-san, big fucking Japanese guy, and some other guys there. And this guy with the suit, with the old gentleman looking and stuff like that. So we sat down, we got chatting. The big guy was sat right at the end table, and we got sat down drinking sake and eating food. And yeah, basically the guy that was sat at the end was a yak. And even through the whole night there was like young yakkers coming in and out, in and out. I don't know what they were doing, obviously I'm not going to ask. But yeah, you do meet these people. And to be honest, for people that want to come out here, don't be worried about this shit, because yaks, they don't get involved with foreigners. Not unless you do something really fucked up towards them, yeah. But I mean, really, unless you know who they are and what they're up to, you know, just you won't be hassled. They don't really fuck with foreigners. All this Yakuza shit is mainly to do with rival gangs, especially from Korea, China, maybe Russian as well. They do exist. They are a real network of people, and in most towns out here, they frequent there. I've been to some bars where I've met young yaks, the guys with the fucking tats and stuff. They're actually cool people. Like, they like having a laugh, they like getting fucked up. I had a friend who owned a bar. I think on the third day it opened, because it was a new bar. He had a visit from some yaks, and the yaks were trying to basically they were trying to push him, and they were trying to get him to sell drugs at his bar. And my friend was like, no, I'm not into that shit. I want a legit business. I want to make this business grow. I'm not getting involved with anything like that. And by the way, my friend is a big fucking guy. He's from Africa. This is kind of sad. I think there's a homeless guy living down there. All this trash. Every year we have homeless guys living here. Damn, she was nice. It's a nice view today. Nice and peaceful. So yeah, that's just some of my stories. Just some. But actually, there are a few documentaries on YouTube about it. Like I said, you will see blacked out Mercedes-Benz and Crowns and Beamers. And these yaks have a certain like facial dynamics that I know that they look kind of dodgy. The Shibaken. But don't worry, I mean, I'm sure most of you guys who come to Japan probably won't be allowed into certain establishments which some of these guys hang out with. One place I do go to, yeah, I'll leave it at that. But you know, Sega now have got that game, the Yakuza game and stuff like that. The most areas you got to be a little bit wary of is Shibuya and Shinjuku, Asakusa, especially Asakusa. Foreigners, when they come to Japan, this whole word of it's safe, yes it is to a certain degree, but if you don't live here and you don't know what really happens on the under the surface, then you probably won't understand that actually it's not safe really. That makes sense. There are some mad things that happen underground every year, and I think for a lot of tourists or people that are interested in Japan will never ever see that side. And when you look into it a little bit more, it's interesting. Now, the guy that I was telling you about, who was in a suit, he actually offered me a job. Like, he wanted me to be or teach him English, and he wanted me to teach English to his staff over some grilled fish and some sake one night. We got chatting, so I met him another time as well. So but I knew what he was in with the people that he was hanging around with, and I was like, I don't know if I want to really be doing this. You know, you got to use your head sometimes. And I never replied to him. I'll probably see him again at some point. But yeah, going into the newest story. Japan gangs vie for power and amid the pandemic. Japan's government has been criticized for its slow and inadequate response to the outbreak of the coronavirus. Japanese organized crimes, meanwhile, has moved to take advantage of the crisis. The pandemic has become a new battlefield for the country's criminal gangs, with older Yakuza groups trying to restore their reputations through public works, while newer gangs vie for profits from selling medical supplies. See what I mean? Every time I come here, I always get run over. By the way, this is where Yukari bought our car, because we know the owner of this business. Right. The Yakuza, which means good for nothing in Japanese, have reportedly been handing out free supplies. Fucking good on it. Good on them. What's wrong with that? You know, to desperate shoppers, and even offered to clean up a quarantine cruise liner in bid to curry favor. In this way, the Yakuza, who have been perceived negatively in recent years, hope to become more socially accepted, said Gauru Okita, a journalist and an expert on the yaks. Newer organized crime groups known as the Hanguri have also been trying to capitalize on the crisis. by selling medical supplies. But while the pandemic has offered new opportunities, it may also provide, it may also prove to be bad for the gang's traditional businesses, which I mentioned before. Japan's measures have disrupted the gang's lucrative drug trade and forced the sex industry to close up shop. Yeah, because during this lockdown, these flowers here, I love this garden, don't know why. So during this COVID situation, oh, it's this garden that I like. There's some pansies there. So during the that garden, during the pandemic, a lot of these horse bars have been closed. Oh, it's an amazing garden. All the bonsai in there. Some big bonsai. Wow. During the pandemic, a lot of these businesses have been closed, so I presume that some of the host bars, bonsai there, some of these host bars were probably also having narcotics and drugs and whatnot being sold there, probably. So both of those kind of business arrangements were probably put on a long hold since that time, actually. And I haven't reported this because obviously I've just started my new YouTube genre. A lot of underground gambling syndicates were busted by the cops, and I presume that maybe there was still underground things going on that were kept a secret. I don't think the pandemic really stopped the underground shit, but I think for the Yakuza owned kabukiras and all the other stuff was probably suspended, put on hold, so to speak. Japan was initially criticized for the only bringing in toothless measures to combat the pandemic. On April 16th, however, the government declared a nationwide state of emergency in an attempt to stop the coronavirus from spreading and straining the country's healthcare system. The Yakuza leadership, many of whom, like the Italian mafia bosses, are senior citizens and particularly vulnerable to the coronavirus, have cancelled meetings and have restored to online messaging service to conduct business. When a national crisis occurs, gangsters want to help the country, Yakuza expert and author Tomohiko Suzuki told a magazine. The fact that the Yakuza, which is an antisocial force, stands up every time a major disaster strikes Japan and quickly sends relief supplies all over the country must be an inconvenient fact for the police and general media. So that's kind of interesting, right? Like I just said about the tsunami of 2011, when the government, Mr. Abe-san, did fuck all for those people up in Iwate. You know, people stranded while Abe-san sending millions and millions of yen to fucking Africa. There were people after the Fukushima disaster being stranded, and still are. Some of these places are still on the roads of recovery, so to speak, which is kind of fucked up if you think about it. Now, The Corona Hustle. In late February, one Yakuza group reportedly offered to help disinfect the Diamond Princess cruise ship, which had been impounded in Yokohama after several passengers tested positive for COVID-19. After its 600 passengers were finally allowed to disembark, the gang offered to send members to clean the Diamond Princess as it waited in port, according to News Post 7. High-ranking members reportedly said, humans like us should do the dirty job. The government disagreed, however, and the Yakuza's offer. In Japanese society, dirty jobs such as butchery or undertaking are traditionally done by outcast group called the Burakumin. While not all Yakuza members come from this group, they have made up a significant proportion of the gang since they first emerged and still reportedly make up more than half of their members today. When face masks, tissues and toilet paper started disappearing from shelves in Japanese supermarkets in February, some Yakuza groups also stepped in and distributed masks for free to pharmacies and kindergartens. Okita, who has written several books on the Yamaguchi Gumi, Japan's biggest Yakuza group, said the gangs want to get the public back on their side after a government crackdown turned opinion against them. When the outbreak occurred in Japan, they already had their routes and their networks in place for getting mass toilet paper and tissues to offer to the people in trouble for free, he told the newspaper. When you do deeds like these, you expect gratitude in exchange. This isn't the first time the Yakuza have sought to turn a crisis into a publicity stunt. The boss of Japan's second largest Yakuza gang, the Sumiyoshi Kai, were arrested in 2012 for illegally sending workers to clean up the Fukushima nuclear plant after a huge tsunami sent it into meltdown. If we didn't do that, who would? A mid-level Yak boss told The Atlantic. When everyone else was running away as Fukushima melted down, our people, this is interesting, man, our people stayed to avert disaster. We're not the bad guys. But the coronavirus pandemic has also exposed the Yakuza weakness. One gang from the Kanto region reportedly tried to collect 30,000 masks to send to China after the coronavirus first broke out in Wuhan in December. Their plan failed, however, as they did not have the right international connections to smuggle the masks to the epicenter of the outbreak. One former gangster who now manages a beauty salon for its Chinese owner told Suzuki, the Yakuza Mafia influence has faded, which I mentioned when I was filming in the park about that. The Yakuza's name is almost not used abroad. Even if it intimidates the Japanese in the Japanese community, the ex-gangster said, people with language skills are no longer attracted to the old-fashioned organizations like organized crime groups. An executive for the Macau who used Chinese tourists to buy up masks in Japan told Suzuki that the Yaks talk a big game, but they have no guts. The next section is talking about vying for power. The origins of the Yakuza are hard to determine. Historians say their roots can be traced back as far as the 17th century. Journalists coined the term Yakuza after World War II, referring to crime groups that traded black market goods and provided security to market stall owners. They make more money through shin-no-gi, a Japanese term that roughly translates as hustle, referring to the illicit activities such as racketeering, financial fraud, blackmail, drug trafficking, gambling and prostitution, which I mentioned before. Gang violence increased in the mid-2000s, with reports of dozens of shootings between rival gangs as they fought for control of the streets of Tokyo's and other major cities. Meanwhile, the Yakuza moved into industries such as construction and the financial markets, using intimidation to gain a competitive edge. While controversial, their role was tactically accepted and the legitimate businesses often worked with them. Then in 2010, Japanese prefectures started targeting the Yakuza by implementing organized crime exclusion ordinances, which forbid citizens and businesses from dealing with them. People stopped accepting the gangs as a necessary evil and started to see them as a problem instead, according to Okita. Suzuki said that this in turn created a sham between the public's perception of the Yakuza and the way criminals see themselves. Any business dealing with gangsters have become illegal, he said. These ordinances target the general public, but the gangsters' self-perception doesn't change. The Yakuza's PR problem has worsened in the years since, as groups have attacked businesses with petrol bombs, hand grenades and guns. Fucking hell. In one incident, a civilian was assassinated in hospital after he was mistaken for a gang member. The Yakuza's fading reputation and a raft of new laws targeting their activities has created more opportunities for the Japanese criminal groups known as hangure to gain prominence. The term meaning half grey or half bad is credited to investigate journalist Atsushi Mizoguchi, who used it in his 2011 book The Downfall of the Yakuza to refer to a new rising class of non-affiliated criminals. As a number of Yakuza have declined over the past 15 years to fewer than 30,000 members, according to the National Police report published this month, the hangure criminal gangs have grown to take their place. Their looser structure based on personal relationships mean they do not fall under Japan's 1991 anti-organized crime laws, which define criminal groups as strictly I can't even say that word. I think like going through the family, sorry, like the Yakuza. They are also not covered by 2010 ordinances. Wow, there's a lot to read here. The non-affiliated groups also have demographics on their side. As Yakuza members have aged, the hangure's ranks have been swelled by men in their 20s and 40s. With the police crackdown on the Yakuza, the hangure's ability to reach into ordinary society is a valuable asset. And no more reason for these groups to maintain some distance from the Yakuza, Nakamura said. The Yakuza hangure groups have tried to capitalize on the coronavirus pandemic. Okita said they have been pushing cheap face masks in Japan for profit. Those who sold it for money were not Yakuza members. Oh look, there's a dweller there, look, hoarder guy. Those who sold it for money were not Yakuza members, but Hangure, he said. Police in Chiba Prefecture have also warned citizens of numerous coronavirus-related scams, though it is unclear exactly who is behind them. They include door-to-door sales of overpriced medical products, investments in fake companies that have ostensibly developed vaccines. Ding ding bell on a guy. And emails promising to sell masks that are out of stock. Wow, there's so... I'm on the last part. Let me try and finish it before I get to the station. Corona woes. But while the pandemic has created some new business opportunities for organized crime groups, it has also presented new hurdles. Let me take a break because I'm a little bit tired chatting and talking, and plus that old lady nearly fucking ran me over. That shit pisses me off. Many Yakuza members are in their 70s and 80s, and their tattoos and drugs use have led to liver disease, which makes them even more susceptible to severe COVID-19. What the fuck? Like the government, Yakuza groups have asked their members and associates to practice jishuku, or self-restraint, to stop them spreading the coronavirus. Members were asked to cancel regular meetings and use messaging app line to conduct their illicit activities. Wow, that's kind of mad. It's a local train line. Trying to find a place where I can hook up my Go-Ho. Can't find one. We do this instead. Where are we? One Yakuza member even told Gendai Business he was following government guidelines when going to the toilet. I'm not going to touch the toilet door when I'm on the go. I already opened it with my leg, he said. The groups have also struggled with the spread of the misleading news. One Yakuza associate reportedly followed false advice he received through line that suggested cooking garlic and ginger or gargling Japanese tea as a way to kill the virus. One more Yakuza organization has used a Mandarin-speaking youth to follow the latest information about the coronavirus posted on Chinese websites, including how deadly it is and whether the virus can infect pets, in the hope it would be more up to date. It's about getting faster information on the TV, he said. Despite these measures, some Yakuza gangsters have been infected. Bunshun Online reported police have been checking on gang members after, quote, the head of a prestigious organization based in the area of Inagawa Kai clan in Tokyo was among the first 16 coronavirus cases in the capital, announced on March 23rd. Coronavirus is also proving bad for Yakuza traditional businesses. Illegal laboratories that provide chemicals used to produce amphetamines have been shut down due to the quarantine measures. A crime group contact told Yoshiko Machida, the widow of a former minor Yakuza boss, according to the editorial she wrote for Shinjo Women, stimulants such as methamphetamine have historically been one of the Yakuza's biggest moneymakers. Other hard drugs like heroin or cocaine have taken off in Japan. Other main sources of funds for the Yakuza have also been affected by the quarantine, mainly the sex industry. The mayor of Tokyo, Shinjuku Ward, called for citizens to refrain from visiting strip clubs and other sex business venues after at least a dozen people from the sex industry in this area were found to be infected with the new coronavirus. Japan has reportedly granted a request from sex work groups asking for aid after entertainment districts of other major cities were forced to shut. A move some activists have hailed as a sign of progress for an industry that has long suffered social stigma. Fuck me, that was a long article. To be honest, when I found this article, I didn't think it would be that long. So sorry for the long explanation, but I know probably some of you guys won't understand what really goes on here. But I hope that this video has maybe explained things a little bit more clear about the Yakuza. I basically had to be a little bit careful in what I was saying walking down the street. If you come to Japan, it's not really a topic that I would bring up in a bar, a club, or anywhere like that. Can you talk about it with Japanese people? Kind of, but it's not something they're really interested in. Try and get this picture of the train. I don't know which direction it's coming in. So I'm going to let you guys decide what your opinions are about this. Are the Yakuza good or bad people? You know, they were glamorized in a lot of movies. They were in magazines. They've done some good things, I would say, for people in Japan. I think they've helped certain areas out that maybe the government couldn't. And I can see how the Yakuza can maybe target this, because like you said on the report, in the report, it's kind of like a Robin Hood situation almost, because I see some good points and bad points about what they're doing. But who's to say that even the higher ends of government and power and stuff like that are also part of the whole underground system? Because I think I know that nothing is ever black or white. And I think some of these bigger gangs are like, of course they have payrolls, they're paying people off, big people, lawyers, cops, city officials, everything. It runs deep. We're going down big rabbit holes here with it. And I don't know, man. As a person that's kind of like anti-establishment, I think they're doing all right. I mean, the other stuff they do is a bit sketchy, of course, but what do you guys think? I'll leave it at that. And I'm off to go to work. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.